Summarize from last week. We were studying about. We were considering the uh, soliloquy of Job. The first thing that came to his mouth when those three friends came in. Those three friends sat with him for how many days? How many? 7 days. They were they were great friends. They were there to support him. So the first thing that comes out of Job's mouth is he curses the day he was born. He wishes that he was a stillborn child, meaning that he was hoping that he was been born dead. Now, understand when Job begins to speak all these things, that he begins to curse the day, that he wishes that gloom and doom and darkness would come upon him like a cloud that would envelop him so he would not be born. So he curses the day of his birth, not just the day of his birth, but the night that he was conceived. Why was he cursing the day and the day he was born and the day he was conceived? Because of the pain and suffering that he was going through, because of the sorrow that he was feeling, and he wished that he was never been born. Now we have three friends that are showing up, and for 7 days they were all good. But after 7 days, we're going to see that there's a great controversy between what they begin to tell Job and how Job reacts. Today, we're going to talk about what one of them told Job. So, let's go to your notes, please. Read number 1. What does it say? Eliphaz speaks and Job responds. But right now, today, next week, we're going to talk about how Job responds. We're gonna talk about what Eliphaz speaks after the 7 days. After the 7 days, you got Job. He comes up and he begins to give his soliloquy, how he felt. I curse the day I was born. I curse the day I was conceived. I wish that I'd never been born, and on and on and on. Now, Eliphaz comes from a lineage of very wise men. We studied this a few weeks ago. He comes from a lineage of people that had a lot of wisdom. They were very studious men. So Eliphaz, I did a study, and it shows that he comes from men of wisdom, men that were learned men. So when they speak, people would listen because they had something to say, not just that they had something wise to say. Now, after Job speaks and he gives all his soliloquy about the pain and suffering and all. Look at me, look at what I'm going through. Now I curse the day which I was born. Now you have this man of wisdom listening to him. What is he going to say? Now, when people in your family or you're going through a crisis, you're going through a dilemma, you're going through something that it's heartbreaking, and it's something that neither you or me want to be in this situation, but you are going through this, or I'm going through this. We want sympathy. Am I right? We want sympathy. We want people to care for us and give us a word of advice, at least pray for us and tell us that, you know what, I don't know how it feels to be in your situation, but I can probably, understand a little bit, but let me pray for you. Here, let me help you out. Let's see what Eliphaz speaks once Job gives his soliloquy. Soliloquy is kind of like a one-man act. When you're have you ever been to a drama in school, and there's one person giving a talk? Well, that's a soliloquy. That's pretty much what he is saying, and there's an audience of people speaking. Here, in this case, there's three people that were listening to Job complain about his situation, and by all means, I would probably do the same. I'd probably do the same. But here, Eliphaz speaks. And this is the first thing that he says. Please read Job 4, 1 through 21. It's a little lengthy, but let's read it. Then Eliphaz, the Temanite, he replied, please read, if someone ventures a word with you, will you not be impatient? But who can keep from speaking? Think how you have instructed many, how you have strengthened feeble hands. Your words have supported those who stumbled. You have strengthened faltering knees. But now trouble comes to you, and you are discouraged. It strikes you, and you are dismayed. Should not your piety be your confidence, and your blamelessly weighs your hope? Consider now, who being innocent has ever perished? Where were the upright even destroyed? As I have observed, those who plow evil and those who sow trouble reap it. At the breath of God they perish. At the blast of his anger they are no more. The lions may roar and growl, yet the teeth of the great lions are broken. The lion perishes for lack of prey, and the cubs of the lioness are scattered. A word has secretly brought to me, my ears caught a whisper of it. Amid disquieting dreams in the night, when deep sleep falls on people, fear and trembling seized me and made all my bones shake. A spirit glided past my face, and the hair on my body stood on end. It stopped, but I could not tell what it was. A form stood before my eyes, and I heard a hushed voice. Can a mortal be more righteous than God? Can even a strong man be more pure than his maker? If God places no trust in his servants, if he charges his angels with error, how much more those who live in houses of clay, whose foundations are in the dust, who are crushed more readily than a moth. Between dawn and dusk, they are broken to pieces. Unnoticed, they perish forever. Are not the cords of their tent pulled up so that they die without wisdom? Now, Job 4, 1 to 21, here Eliphaz, the Temanite, he's speaking to Job right after he comes in with his apparent wisdom. He starts giving a perspective on Job's suffering. He's acknowledging that at one time or another, Job was strong. He's acknowledging that at one time or another, he was helping people. Now, he's questioning, why are you discouraged? Why are you lamenting over yourself? And now, here Eliphaz is claiming that the innocent do not suffer. And yet, Job is suffering. So he is appealing, saying that you are not innocent, implying that the trouble that he's going through is pointing to something of some sort of wrongdoing. There's a hidden sin. There's a hidden wrongdoing. Now, here's this guy full of wisdom, full of knowledge, full of understanding, Brother Joe. And what's he doing? Oh, you're like that because you must have sinned. There must be a hidden sin. You lost this, you lost that, you lost your marriage, you lost your house, you lost your wife, you lost your this, you lost your job, because there must be something wrong in you. You must have sinned. Now, to a certain aspect, there might be true, but here we have Eliphaz, a person that is wise, he's saying, if you are innocent, then you shouldn't suffer. You must be suffering because you must have done some sort of wrongdoing. Now, here Eliphaz, and I want you to hear me, he is using his own experiences, and he's even using a dream or a vision to emphasize that we as human beings, we are inherently flawed. He was saying, you are flawed. You are not innocent. You are guilty. Compared to God, you're doing something wrong. Man, can you imagine that? Now, what did Job say? I wish I was dead. I should have never been born. So Eliphaz comes over and says, you know what? I think you sinned, my brother. I wonder what you did. I wonder what wrongdoing you did. Because compared to God, you cannot ever compare yourself because you're this little person that's sick. I wonder what you did. So now he is exercising his experiences, Eliphaz, and he's saying that he had a vision, that he had a dream. And this dream is pretty much saying that we as human beings, we're flawed compared to God. Now, in this vision, I'm just preparing this for you. In this vision, he hears a voice asking if a person can be more righteous than God. What he's saying, that there's weakness there was a weakness. That there's weakness in human beings. And so we have Eliphaz, his experience, his knowledge, he's using it to show that he believes that as humans, we are flawed compared to God. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong to say God is perfect. You are flawed and he is not. There's not anything wrong with that, with that view. But now here he begins to suggest that Job's suffering is because of divine justice. Now, the word divine justice means God's punishment. He's telling Job, your suffering is a result of God's punishment in your life. God is punishing you because of wrongdoing. Do you want to hear that at that time of your life when you're going through the worst? Is that the counsel that we want from the man of wisdom, man of knowledge, man that grew up in his inheritance was wisdom? So now this is what Eliphaz is saying. I want you to reflect on what you did. I want you to reflect on your actions. In other words, he's saying there's reasons why you're like this. There's reasons why you're suffering. There's reasons why you lost 10 children. There's reasons why you lost all your investments. There's reasons. So now Eliphaz is believing that by trusting God and his righteousness, that he can find reassurance and hope so that he can understand why he is suffering. And he can understand why he is suffering. And the purpose that God has for him is obviously a greater plan, which is true. There's no argument about that. But when does he bring this up? Now let's go to A. The counsel of Eliphaz. Number 1, introductory remarks. Please read chapter 4, 1-6 again. Go ahead and read. Can I have a paper, please? Oh, thank you. Give one to my sister, please. Please read. 4, what is it? 1-6, please read. Then Eliphaz the Temanite replied, if someone ventures a word with you, will you be impatient? Think how you have instructed many, how you have strengthened feeble hands. Your words have supported those who stumbled. You have strengthened faltering knees. But now trouble comes to you, and you are discouraged. It strikes you, and you are dismayed. Should not your piety be your confidence, and your blameless ways your hope? Now Eliphaz is speaking to Job. He's saying, hey, at one time you were strong. At one time you were helping others. But now you're discouraged. And the reason you're discouraged because of your suffering. And Eliphaz questions if Job will be patient with him and suggests that Job's faith should give him confidence. Hey, your faith is going to give you confidence. Just wait. Really, bro? You see me like this? You see me struggling? You see me about to lose my house? And you're saying, keep up the good work. But if only you would have done something right, you wouldn't have been losing your house. If only you would have been losing your house, you would have been losing your wife. You would have been losing your husband. You would have been losing your children. If only you would have done it. And then this is what his friend was saying. Everything was right. Everything he said was right. He's acknowledging at one time you had money. At one time you were a leader in the community. At one time you were a servant of God. At one time you were devoted to God. But look at you now. But I want you to faith to strengthen you. Don't let go. So what Eliphaz is saying, that the suffering has a purpose that is going to encourage him to trust in his own righteousness. Lord, I've done this before. I've helped people. I've done this before, which is true. But it's just the wrong time. So what this means is this Eliphaz, he thinks that suffering has a purpose, which is true. That suffering has a divine discipline of testing, which is true. Because that's what suffering does. It tests us. It disciplines us. It's true. And so now Eliphaz, he's urging Job to trust in his own goodness by saying, I used to help people. But Lord, I'm going to wait. Because I was righteous and I was good and I was helping others. Lord, it is through this suffering that I will find hope. True? But it's not what your friend needs to hear right now. Let's go to A. Though he does not wish to weary Job, he cannot refrain from speaking. What does that mean? Please read that again, please. Though he, talking about Eliphaz, though he does not wish to weary Job, he cannot refrain from speaking. Have you ever met people that just don't know how to shut up? No se callan, yes. They cannot refrain. They have to share everything they know. Well, I wonder what you did. I wonder what your son did. I wonder what you did in order for this to happen. I wonder what and though he does not wish to weary Job, he cannot refrain from speaking. So Eliphaz feels indignant. Eliphaz feels strongly, a strong need to share his thoughts on the suffering, saying that it's divine justice that is coming against him. In other words, he's being punished by God. And he's saying, he's believing that his words are going to help him. But Job understands the situation a lot better than he does, because he's the one that's going through this. So now you have this Eliphaz, man of God, man of wisdom. He's overwhelming Job. And he thinks it's very important for him to address his friend like this, even through his pain and suffering. He's saying, if you acknowledge what you're going through, that you are wrong, that you are living a sinful life, that you're doing this, it might heal you and you might even grow from it. Is it true? Yes, it's true. Just the wrong time. Let me ask you this. Is what Eliphaz doing and speaking to Job, is it fair? Is it right to say this at a very sensitive time? Is what Eliphaz telling Job? Is it fair? Is it right to say this at a very sensitive time? Why not?
He's being too judgmental. He's being too judgmental. But he's not thinking straight right now. He's mourning.
He's mourning his children, mourning the business that went under, mourning his own body.
Yeah, but he said he curses the day he died. It's like,
okay.
Come on, brother. That's part of mourning. That's part of when you were. Yes, but no. Because with life comes struggles. Yeah, but he's already gone through a lot of struggles, so now his body's speaking up. Toughen up. Yeah, he's broken with all that sickness and all that pain.
There's no compassion.
He sounds to me like a natural person that doesn't know God or anything. He's just speaking from what he sees.
Do you feel that Eliphaz had good intentions?
Yes. Yes, he did.
He was giving him word. He was being truthful. But I believe that he did not understand the pain that Job was going through, the suffering he was going through. And I feel there's a word the word dismissive. What does the word dismissive mean? I don't care what you're going through. What I have to say is more important. You see that? Now, a lot of us, I say us, mom, dads, pastors, leaders, evangelists, elders, we feel that we always have the last word. And we feel the more we speak, the more we say. Trust me, the more you say, the less they hear you. Because sometimes less is more. And I think Eliphaz should just shut up and make it 14 days instead of just 7 days. So now we have this person, his intentions is to share and impose his views without fully understanding the pain and suffering that Job is going through.
Josh, but you mentioned that Eliphaz, the Temanite, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was supposed to be like smart and
Mhm.
wise and all
Yes.
that. And with all his smart days, he was just acting more soft to the injury.
Sometimes we think we are wiser because we use more words.
So prior to this, they had been quiet for 7 days, right?
The what?
They had been quiet and not saying nothing.
7 days,
And all of a sudden, he starts.
But think about it. What did Job say?
Well, he cursed.
He cursed the day he was born.
But he opened
Yeah, but he's saying this is like somebody was saying that's his mourning. This is his sorrow speaking. This is his pain speaking. And then this guy feels there's a righteous indignation for me to say how bad you are, how bad you did, because there had to have been some sort of wrongdoing for you to inherit everything that just happened. Yes.
I'm thinking, was he by himself when he said that, or there were other the friends were there?
No, he was there because the soliloquy.
Okay, my thing is,
Okay.
as a friend, mijito, cállate, mijito, no digas eso. That's against the way, as encouragement. Mijito, no digas eso, don't hurt, brother, don't hurt. You know, as motivate, no, cállate, no digas nada que va a ofender a Dios. That's helping him. Cállate, no hables, don't speak because more.
Have you ever gone on the ramp on the expressway, right? You wait for the car that's in front of you, you wait for the car kind of behind you, and you kind of go in between. I think they kind of joined the party because they saw Job complaining.
But first, he laid it out like super nice, telling him how good he was.
Yes.
And then he, geez.
So we agree that the Eliphaz had good intentions, and he begins to impose. What does the word impose mean?
Set this boundary.
He's imposing views that Job, no, let me talk the way I talk. You're not in the shoes that I'm in right now. So here we have Eliphaz, is smart and intelligent and wisdom, full of wisdom that he is. Sometimes we speak out of term at the wrong time. So this is insensitive, dismissive behavior on the part of a man of wisdom. The wisdom was there, but it was at the wrong time. So in times of grief, like they were saying, in times of where people, what are the people looking for? Empathy. They want people to sympathize with them. They want people to understand them, and they're not asking for unsolicited advice. They are not asking for unsolicited advice. What is unsolicited? Have you met somebody that just gives you advice for nothing? You're like, nada que ver. If they don't ask you, yes. There are situations that arise and we need to confront this on a private basis. Amen to that. But when people give you advice, I'm not talking about preaching. That's the word of God. When people begin to give you advice on your children, on your finances, without you asking, it's like, who asked you? So in times of grief, yes, sir.
I'm with Chris. I'm not with everybody else.
Okay.
It's like you were all here and somebody said
All right. Go ahead.
You guys are not being truthful in a sense because if we're in this community right here,
Yeah.
and I start telling my story, and I'm
Yes.
going to kill myself, I'm going to do this, I'm
Yeah.
going to do that, and do this. Didn't y'all speak up? If you're saying we're about community, we're about helping each other.
Yes.
That's how I see it. Like Chris said, it's like I don't see anything he said was wrong.
Okay.
I mean,
Because I mean, he's just like let him speak, let him mourn for 7 days. As a friend,
Mhm.
if Chris starts something like that, I'm like, oh, okay, well, Chris, calm down. Don't think that way. You know, I mean, let's just think this through. Yes, some of the words, again, he's wise
Sure,
man.
sure.
Wise man. You're just gonna state it, the facts. Right?
Yes.
You're not gonna
True.
be
Very
able to
true.
comfort. This is what I see.
Perspective,
That's all I'm
yes.
saying, yeah. But I don't think it's being mean and anything because you all been at a funeral, right? You might not know the person, but you're out there comforting and taking them stuff when they just lost a loved one.
Yes.
You're gonna say something that might not be right, but you're saying something to try to cover
The
that.
context of this narrative is this, and we're not there yet, the conflict that it creates.
Yep.
You're right. You're absolutely right. But I've gone to funerals, and I say this: Jesus is wonderful in times like this. They begin to cry, they begin to weep because of the separation of the law. Somebody approached them, somebody close to them. They begin to cry, they begin to weep. I've been in funerals, son. Brother, Jesus is wonderful times like this. If only your brother and the dad would have done, if only your brother and your dad would have comforted, and they would have forgiven each other, maybe they wouldn't have been in this situation. If only they, and you begin to speak and speak and speak and speak and speak and speak, and you're like, get up, go to the restroom, angry, because estás hablando de más. I agree with you. There's a time and a place for everything. But the narrative that we're trying to paint here is that maybe I'm not expressing myself correctly, yeah, but why? Gives you the right? What intentionality do you have? I know you want to help me, but you know what? I'm still not after my mourning. I'm still not over my mourning. And so we will see the conflict that it creates. Maybe people are not ready to receive that comfort. Maybe people are. Trust me. I've had people come and say, Pastor, you were too tough with that message. I think that you should have toned it down. 2 minutes later, Pastor, you need to keep on being that strong because, pégale la cabeza, pégale el clavo, Pastor. ¿Me entiendes? So there has to be a balance here. And what you're saying, brother, absolutely true. I agree with it.
But don't accuse him of doing
Now,
something wrong. That's why you're going.
That's what you see. That's the conflict. That is the conflict, not the insensitivity. Maybe Joel was insensitive to the help that this man was giving, the counsel he was giving, or maybe Eliphaz was insensitive to say, "Oh man, you must have done something really bad. I wonder what your wife did. I wonder what your kids did in order for God to kill him."
But again, he's a wise man. So if I was that wise man, and this man was righteous, and he had everything for many, many, many years. And all of a sudden, I see devastating on him. I'm like, man, what did you do? You all would do that.
Yeah.
You all say you know, but you all would do that. As followers, somebody falls through, like, man, I bet you they haven't done this.
Again.
I mean, that's just human nature. That's gonna do that.
Yes.
So you can't say that you won't.
The conflict that it creates. This is a narrative that we're speaking. Now, this unsolicited advice is whether it's pertinent in this particular narrative or not, there's a lot of unsolicited advice. Trust me, I've been a victim on that. I'm in my office studying years ago. Somebody picks in, "Oh, Pastor, I'm praying for that, for this, for that. I didn't share it with you. I only shared it with one person. And never in my life did I share anything with the person that I shared it with. Because there's some things you just don't share. You feel that person has an authority and they just told somebody that nada que ver. Yes, sir.
Okay, one more, but y'all gonna get mad.
No, we're not.
His wife said to him,
Yes.
"Are you still maintaining your integrity? Curse God and die."
Okay.
From that saying to this saying,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the wife's worse.
Well, what I think
He's
about
like,
that, brother,
"Die, man."
what I think about it's so cruel. But what I think is this: the first phrase. What is the first phrase? Do you still have the same integrity? In other words, are you still a devout man?
What did he say to her?
Because if you're not, you know what? Just get it over with.
I mean, his friend didn't say
But he was a man of integrity. He did not curse God. But pain and suffering, my goodness, I trust me, man, it will make you do things and say things that, oh my goodness. Now, even Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, what did he say? Ah, Lord, if possible, let this pass by me. Instead of, Jesus, I'm going to take it. Praise be to God.
Pastor, I have a little, it's just
Yes.
something that I went through personally.
Mhm.
And it was with my second baby that she actually was a stillborn. So when the doctors told me that the baby was no longer alive, that I had to carry full term.
Yes.
And I went home and I told my parents, and they started praying for me because they wanted to do a miracle. But one of my relatives got my husband
Mhm.
and said, "You need to come and ask God for forgiveness because this is your fault." And I feel bad, and I'm like, why is it his fault? Like that God was punishing us, because of his sin. And I'm like, okay, that's not what we want to hear right now. We were like, I was devastated, a baby that I was waiting for, and 8 months pregnant, and that's what happened to him. And he was like, he felt so bad that he was being blamed for our baby. And I'm like, okay, this is not the time to say things like that, because I thought that was really, really, really sad that they blamed him, and he actually carried that on himself, thinking that, because of me this happened. And I'm like, something that had happened in me, something that I could avoid. The baby had a knot.
I mean, if it's a negligence, I understand, but
But it's not a negligence.
Yeah.
It was the baby just made a knot inside, and no oxygen passed.
Yeah.
And actually, it was your mom that told me, like, you can't have the baby there 10 days. You have to have them have C-section to get the baby out. And they said, no, you're gonna wait for term, and the baby will come. It was real scared for me.
Yeah.
But in heaven, because God gave me a vision that she was growing in heaven. She was no longer in her little coffin. She didn't fit in the coffin when she was very little.
Mhm.
But I had that vision that she was in the coffin, but her legs were bent because she didn't fit in there because it was so little. And then I had gotten her up, that she had ran to me, and I took her to the doctor. The only doctor was Dr. Suderman that I remember. That I had taken her to that doctor, and the doctor's like, yes, she's alive. She doesn't have a heart, but she's alive. She was like 2 years old, and that's 2 years later is when I got that vision.
Wow.
And God said, she's growing in heaven, so she's actually alive, but she doesn't have a heart. And I'm like, praise you, Jesus. I know she's with you.
Oh, thanks for sharing that. Again, we're talking about the controversy that is being developed. But let's go to B, please read. Job has strengthened others in the past. Now he needs strengthening. Now I'm believing that Job is saying, Lord, look at what I've done. I've helped so many people. I've hired so many people. I've offered so many others a lot of strength. Now he is facing this situation and he's feeling vulnerable. Now the irony. What is irony? The irony. Now, I was helping people. Now I need help myself. Look at all the people I blessed. Look at all the people I hired. Look at most of them are dead. Look at what I did for my children. Look at what I did for the community. Look at all the positive all the economy that was happening. Now look at me, the irony. I was helping. Now I'm the one that needs the help. Now, don't you think that this will bring feelings of confusion? He's probably thinking, I was the one who helped comfort many people. Now I am the one who needs to be comforted. He is the one who needs to be comforted. Because he once gave to others and now he feels unworthy. But Eliphaz sees Job's situation as a chance for Job to reflect on his strength. Eliphaz sees the situation for Job to reflect on his pain, to rely and have confidence, saying, you once gave this to others, let that confidence help you. Let's go to C. Is Job not trusting in his own confidence and integrity? All these questions are the ones that, if you read there, that Eliphaz is bringing to the life of Job. Please read C. Is Job not trusting in his own confidence and integrity? What does that mean? Is he too focused on his pain? Is he too focused on his suffering? Is he too focused on somebody's absence? Are we too focused on what happened in the past? But mind you, he is living it. He's not in the past, he's in the present. Now here, the way I see it, that the conflict that is being developed here, Eliphaz, he's implying that Job's troubles could be a test of his faith. And that he is recognizing his own worthiness. And if he recognizes his own worthiness because I've helped others, then I can regain my confidence by saying, Lord, look at the work that I did. Look at what I did for others. Yes, I am now in need. But here I believe that Eliphaz is implying that his troubles could be a test of his faith. True? His troubles could be a test for him to recognize that you are worthy no matter what you are going through. And this can help you regain your own confidence. So now Eliphaz, he's urging Job to look in the inside of him. Now, mind you, this thing is creating a conflict here. It's going back and forth. Here Eliphaz, he's saying, Job, look within yourself, brother. Look inwardly. And use this past strength that you had instead of giving into despair. Use this, what you're going through, to strengthen you because of what you've done in the past. Now, to a lot of people, Eliphaz, what he did might be unfair because he might be making a broad judgment on a present condition about his suffering. Whether Eliphaz understood or not, whether he's giving him the wisdom or whether he just wants to say words, Job's suffering, if Eliphaz does not understand, then he does not understand because his judgment about Job's suffering, maybe he's saying without understanding what he's going through. Trust me, I've gone to many, many deathbeds in the hospital. I've gone through a lot of situations. People are struggling financially. And I go and I pray. And the people are there in bed, in the hospital, at the house. Some of them aren't. And I pray. You know what I do after I pray? And I dismiss? I go in my strong body and I walk away to my car. And sometimes I forget they stay there. And it's so easy for us to, what's the word? Please help me. To undermine that they're there. I mean, life moves on. Maybe Eliphaz was trying to be a little hard on him. Maybe Eliphaz was not understanding, again, the conflict. You understand?
Brother,
Yes.
in my opinion, although Eliphaz was a very wise man, and
Mhm.
what he was saying, I think it was a little bit too hard.
Okay.
but I get the sense that he's telling him stuff that he shouldn't.
Okay.
So maybe Job was gonna confess and say, "Okay, I did this. I did this."
Okay.
I'm thinking that he's writing his words that way. A veces confesada.
Okay, kind of pushing the envelope a little bit.
Yeah, pushing. So maybe
Oh, oh.
he would confess, and I did sin.
Hence the conflict. Now, my question to you is this, to everybody. Did Job and Eliphaz and the mom and did they know that God was in the midst of all this? Were they aware? Curse God and die?
I think Job did. He was wise enough, and his integrity, his belief in God. He knew that God existed.
Now, we can always say, instead of Eliphaz being sympathetic and understanding, we can say that he was focused on blaming him. Or was he focused on helping him? Hence the conflict.
Well, because Job, brother, what was he being integrity? What was he integrity towards God? So he knew that there was a God.
Well, that
100%.
was the devil's plan, like to prove to God that he will curse him.
So instead of being empathetic towards him, the situation, he's focused on blame, and he tells Job to rely on his past strength. What's wrong with that? Nothing. Is it too soon? I don't know. Maybe. Hence the conflict. I have been in situations that for example, I talked to Belinda, and she's like telling me something. I'm like, awesome. Somebody else can go confront Sister Belinda. She might say the same thing to that person. How they take it, you understand? Kind of like when you make a line and you call somebody, you tell them like a little secret, and then it goes secret. By the time you know it, at the end, it's like, let's go to Whataburger or something, right?
I was gonna say, like sometimes I say things that are not, that I don't mean to say, like,
Yeah.
let's say in a bad way, and I know that. And then I do turn around and I go, oh my gosh, like, maybe I should have said it different.
Yeah.
Like, but at the same time, it's like, well, that's how it is, or that's how it's gonna be, or that's how it should be. So, and then I question myself, and I'm like, should have been more sensitive about that? Should I have said it differently? Should I have so then I start in my mind, like just kind of thinking like, oh my gosh, did I say things wrong? Because how the other people
Understanding that the words, the Eliphaz, he was a very well-respected man of wisdom. Nobody, kind of like what I said a couple of weeks ago, when E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. This guy comes in 7 days of mourning, ashes. They rip their robe. They cry.
But brother, there was a reason why God chose Job and not Eliphaz.
Wow. Wow.
There's a reason for that. There's a reason why God chooses a lot of times us to go through trials and tribulations instead of somebody else.
Why is that, brother? Because
God knows that either they're not mature enough or that they're not ready to go through those trials so they can grow. Because every trial, every thing that happens to us as Christians is for our benefit, so we can grow, be mature in word.
Mhm.
And if somebody's not ready, it's gonna fall.
we got so many prime examples. Yes, sir.
Again, this is the Old Testament time, right?
Yes.
They heard stories of what God had done to the other people. Right?
Yes.
God was wrath when
Yes.
they did evil.
Yes.
Again, so I'm still trying to see the verse or the scripture that you're saying that he putting the blame on him. If he's considered a wise man, somebody came to me and said, that's why number 8. As in, I have observed
Mhm.
those who plow evil and those who sow trouble reap. Right? That's the way it was in the back.
Yeah.
When they didn't follow God, right? So those are stories they probably heard of it. So that's he's just saying that. He's not saying directly, Job, what did you do? There's no wording in that he's saying, blaming him. He said, what I observed,
Yeah.
what I've heard, what I've seen, that's what he's just saying, man. There's nothing.
What I see here is that the Eliphaz is not, he is, what's the word? He's not ignoring the complexity of what he's going through. Again, I'll say it again, hence the conflict. And you're right, mijo, the wisdom that he's giving him is like, what is that, chip up or ship out? What is it? How does that go? Shape up or ship out, right? Is he this, does he have this caliber of wisdom to say, dude, grow up? But imagine his elephantitis, his lymph nodes, all of the worms coming out of his body, all the different boils in his body, knowing that he no longer is going to see his children. Again, I agree with all the wisdom that has been given to him. Absolutely. He's a man of wisdom, man that has very learned experience. And if you wore gray hair back then, man, you're considered wise. Nobody would ever question you.
And he does know about that, because even there, number 17 on, it's kind of order to be more righteous than God.
And you know what? Next week, mijo, we will know, because it talks about Eliphaz's words and then Job's response. See, this is one-sided still right now. It's one-sided. So is he focusing on blame on Job to say you need to rely on what you did, you were good, or is there a lack of compassion? Is he dismissiveness? If there is a sense of dismissive, in other words, I just want to hear my words. Am I being unjust? Is Eliphaz being unjust? Now, understand this. Is Job, answer this question, is Job is he vulnerable? Is Job vulnerable?
Pastor, but you know how he's saying you have strengthened people, you have instructed me people, so Job knows what it is to help others.
Mhm.
Therefore, he should know how to help himself. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, like when they say build yourself up, like,
Yeah.
who's gonna do
Yeah,
it?
but at that point, Job is going through a lot. I mean, I don't know if you guys get in pain. I've been in pain, and I'm gonna.
Yeah, but then again, you go come
You
for
jump
somebody
on
else.
people.
You come for somebody else.
Yes,
So-
I
so
come for
it's-
everybody. When it comes to me, that I'm in pain, and it happened to me. My son, he comes. I have a terrible back problem. I cannot be like this. Sometimes I like to help out, but I have to get back because I'm in a lot of pain.
Yes.
So when my son comes and plays like this, I did it.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean to say that, but I'm so much pain. I jump, and then I have a sister. People like, oh, you're just a little faith. You should already pray and fast. Oh, you poor faith. I mean, don't you have faith? What a woman, little faith. Wow. I mean, I fast. When I found out that what the problem I had, you see, so people like this, like, pray for me. Just pray for me, please.
Do you feel, thank you, sister, for sharing that. Do you feel that Job at one time or another during this conversation, this response that Eliphaz is giving Job, do you think that Job ever felt to say or maybe express by saying, really, Eliphaz? Really? Me miras como estoy. You see my pain, you see my mourning, you see my cry, you see, look at all the sheep, nobody's ever picked them up. Se están pudriendo las 7,000 sheep. Look at everything you see me struggling, you see me confused, you see me trying to analyze all these different challenges and current circumstances. Do you think Job might have said that? Or Job would have said, well, praise be to God, I helped so many people, but there's nobody to help me.
And he was there trying to help him.
I think Eliphaz is awakening something in Job, because he says, I curse the day that I was born.
He didn't say this too shall pass, or
May God give you the strength, like encouragement.
Yeah.
Not telling you that's
So this internal struggle that Job is going through, I think it just brings a confusion on everybody.
And us as Christians, okay, we're Christians, again, somebody's gonna go through something.
Yes, yes.
We need to be helping, we need to speak out, that's all he's doing, he's not, like, I still don't see what bad thing he said. Okay, yes, he's going through his stuff, he's like, I understand, brother, I understand, but he didn't say you, like, he's not pointing at you, he just said, oh, hey, man, you're a righteous man, you've been through this, you helped all these people out.
We will see the response. Yes.
When somebody is strong in the Lord, and somebody points at something, when you're strong. But if you're telling somebody that is weak, somebody that has a straight back from the Lord, and somebody comes and tells you that, it doesn't work. So you have to weigh it out.
Yes.
So I think that is important.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this. In situations like sister, she could have been stronger than her counterpart. It affected one more than the other. I was saying, I wonder what you guys did, for this baby to have been stillborn. Chief Osmond, you're absolutely right, brother Jason. But perspective is very important. Or maybe, I think the conflict here is that everybody's agreeing that the wise man was wrong. I think that's Jason's argument, that we all agreeing that the wise man was wrong when he's saying, hey man, this guy just saying the truth. No, I know that. But there's Team A and Team B. Team Job and Team Job or Team Eliphaz, right?
I think Job was very, very much mature.
Yeah.
And growing and learning process as with him, as with a Christian, never ends. And I think that God was still showing him. Look at who surrounds you, Job. These are your friends.
Yeah.
These are still very immature people. So if I get you out of this, you're still gonna help him.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be stronger than before.
I thank you, brother. I feel that Eliphaz is saying, look, it might not seem fair what you're going through. Job, it might not seem fair what you're going through, this pain and then suffering. But you have to rise up. The help is there. Now, is this help that was given to him, Brother Joe, is it reliable? I think so. Whether it was said at the right time or the wrong time. So Job's faith, listen to this. Job's faith in God is not tarnished. Job's faith in God himself is challenging even more. By hearing all these words of wisdom that are hard. Trust me, my dad told me so many hard things. I wanted to say, yeah, Dad, leave me alone.
But we need that.
Yeah, we need that.
There you go. That's what we're saying.
I agree with you.
Okay, so get over here.
But no, wait a minute. Yes. But there's others that need it less, others that need it more. Hence the conflict. We cannot go to the conflict. It's being established here. All right.
He knew how much he could handle.
What's that word? Novato? Novato. he was not a novice. He's not a rookie. He was 70 years old. He's been around. Okay?
A few times. He's a wise man.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
That's somebody below, like telling him something like this.
Okay. Then why does the Word of God say it began a conflict. What is a conflict? You don't want to receive the advice, or you think you're better than us, or you receiving this dream and revelation, are you making this up so you can look good in front of your other friends? Hey, mind you, what about the other friends? What about the other people? Are they in agreement? Maybe not. Or maybe they are. Maybe they are cheering him on.
Maybe they're not as wise as his man.
Well, maybe Pilate could have thought that he was right.
Now, Eliphaz,
He really was right.
one of the past couple of weeks, Eliphaz was the wisest of all.
Respect.
Which is fine. But sometimes, mind you, we use that wisdom the wrong way.
Look, I'll put myself in the line.
Okay.
What I went through, I never spoken to you.
Yeah.
It's been, I don't know how many of you, we just seen each other when you went to my ex, our way, right?
Yes.
And you came to me. You put me in my spot, you told me what I needed to hear.
Yes.
That's how I'm taking this
Yeah.
up, you know? Again, I respected your wise man, your pastor. I could have just,
Yeah.
whatever, it's not the right time telling me
Yes.
this.
Yes, sir.
And you hit me, and I needed that, like I said, I needed that, and that's what flipped the switch on me, and I said,
Yes.
I mean, just, well,
True.
you know, so that's what I'm seeing, and, you know, I don't see anything bad, you know, here.
How many times did God mention Job and say that he was wise? He said that he was a man of integrity and righteous,
Have you considered Job?
but never wise.
Never wise.
Never wise.
Maybe he needed that one spanking friend.
Yes.
Hey. Yes, there it is. Yes, honey.
And I feel that Eliphaz, saying what he said, being a wise man, brought kind of like a brought to the table, you know, hey, like maybe this, or maybe that, and gave him an opportunity to search his heart. Have you done something wrong? Maybe he repent. At the same time, you've done so many good things. Like he gave 2 offers. Have you done something by me to repent? Don't forget you're a good man. It's like weighing all these things out, weighing everything. But give him, like I must have a great reason. Have you done something that he needs to repent from? But again, in the background, like Sister Diana said, when the devil told God, do all this thing again. See if he doesn't curse you.
Baby, you bring a great point. Let me just say this. When Jesus went to Satan and says, have you considered my servant Job? Or did he say, have you considered his sins? He was a devout man, a servant of God. And devil says, well, yeah, of course you're surrounding with favor. You're surrounding with, look at what he has. Okay, go ahead and do this. Just don't touch him. The second time, she touched him. Okay, and struck him with that. There is nowhere in between that says that he was sinful. There's nowhere in there that the Bible specifies that he's going through what he's going through because he was a sinful man. Mind you, Eliphaz wasn't even around yet. I mean, at least in the story, the narrative.
But part of the story, the wife showed up, where she told him, curse your God and die, or are you still holding on to your...
I think the first statement is very, very crucial. Are you still holding on to the integrity? In other words, do you still believe the same way? Look at what you're going through. You have to analyze yourself, Job. Look at what you're going through. Look at what you've lost. You lost all your kids. Look at how we're going to do to rebuild this. You were the wealthiest person in Edom, and now look at you. You're going through what you're going through. I mean, mind you, my wife and I, we've had serious discussions about stuff that I'm right. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that I'm right because I'm never wrong. Why are you laughing? But then I begin to hear the Holy Spirit begin to speak through my wife. And I begin to analyze. Not that, oh, you're the man that you should not listen to your wife. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about la ayuda idónea, your helpmate. Amen? I'm talking about your helpmate. But nowhere in between does God say, devil, go ahead and punish him because he's sinning. Yeah, he's a devout man, a man after your own heart. Yeah, so, but then again, this man of wisdom comes in, Eliphaz, and he begins to let him know. Now, what's Job's reaction here? What is his reaction? What would be your reaction? Yes, when I saw Jason years later in my life, and praise God, we all go through crisis. We all go through stuff. We all go through, and we need a sympathetic heart to be there to encourage us. But we also need somebody who's going to chastise us. My dad chastised me many times. And I believe I am the man who I am because my dad did not, what do you call that? He did not spare the rod. Thank you. Thank you for that. And that's biblical. And sometimes God does not spare the rod in us emotionally, spiritually, or physically in our lives. Okay, let's go to number 2 before we finish. Eliphaz's view. The innocent don't suffer, the wicked do. See, you see the conflict now? This is what he is saying in the word. That only the innocent don't suffer. Trust me, Jesus was innocent. The man without sin. He took the pain and the suffering and the cross. He was the only one that was, when he went out, when the woman caught in adultery, right? And she says, why was this man of accused? And then what happens? All the people leave. He says, where are your accusers? He was the only one that was without sin. They could have cast the first stone. He was the innocent lamb that went to the cross. So see the conflict that it begins. Although I agree with the different viewpoints that we are having, Eliphaz's view is this: the innocent. This is according to 4:7-11. The innocent don't suffer; the wicked do. So Eliphaz, according to 7:11, yes, is that suffering is a direct result from your personal actions.
Did the Israelites suffer enough?
Yes, sir.
There you go. God punished them.
Why did But listen to this. Why did God punish them? Because they were disobedient. They were serving other gods. They were caught in I don't want to say this, all these sexual activities that they were not right unto the Lord. They were worshiping a Baal god for God's sake.
When God took him out of that city, it takes 3 months to travel, like could have been 3 months, but they prolonged it to 40 years.
Yep.
Why? Because that's what they decided to do. Like there's a process, but we prolong the process for healing. We prolong it because of the way we're taking it.
And here Eliphaz is claiming that the innocent don't suffer. Do the innocent suffer? He's saying the wicked only suffer, not the innocent. Hey guys, that's a oof. Okay, let's take it. Let's take it. So this view pretty much is saying that suffering indicates wrongdoing. Is that true? According to 7:11, if someone is suffering, they must have done something wrong.
But again, the Old Testament, there's all these stories. So those are stories they've heard and generations pass on.
Yes.
The innocent.
The point is here, how does this, through the cross, through the prism, P-R-I-Z-M, of the cross, through the lens of the sacrifice of Jesus. Okay, again, the conflict. How do we see this? Does God see this innocence of man? Or how does God see this wrongdoing of man? Now, does wrong go punish Adam and Eve? So Eliphaz uses this type of reasoning to suggest that Job's suffering indicates some sort of wrongdoing. And he's saying, reflect on your actions, Job. Is it hard? Yes, was hard. Was Eliphaz understanding his pain and suffering? Maybe, maybe not. Was he a tough pastor? Was he a tough dad? Was he a tough mentor? Obviously he was. Now, go to 8, please. When have the innocent ever perished? Got so many innocent people that have perished. Innocent children, innocent families, innocent people that are in cars, minding their own business, going on vacation. Got a drunk driver that swerves to the left, to the right. The point here is that Eliphaz is saying, you are going through this because you have sinned. Now, the Bible says that all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. We're guilty. Now, think about the phrasing that Eliphaz said. Maybe he was speaking spiritually. Maybe he was even being prophetic. That we have all come short of the glory of God. According to Romans, according to the Apostle Paul, although maybe he was speaking prophetically. So again, the reasoning I believe that the Eliphaz has is that there's a strict divine justice. Divine justice means this, that there's a punishment or consequences. But he's saying that the innocent are protected. Hence, again, which of the three friends first responded to Job? Eliphaz. What was the main argument? Who has ever perished being that they're innocent? Yes.
There's a view of all this happened because God wanted to show off Job.
Mm-hmm.
And Job was here like, what did I do? No, was this my fault? But it brought him to the point where Eliphaz was questioning his, going to do research in his back. Have you done something? Have you done something? Have you done something? But when it says the innocent are always innocent and the guilty are always guilty, at this point, Job was innocent. He was innocent. He had done nothing wrong. But yet it looked like he had done something wrong. And all because God was showing him up. But there's something about him. He loved God, he served God. And God knew the heart he had. Now when a person is suffering and they're not serving God, are they guilty?
But this is two types of errors. We're trying to think now post Jesus, and this is way before Jesus, where God was destroying a lot of people in times, and that's why there's some stories, where it was innocent man because he touched the altar and he got killed.
See the culture. You're talking about the culture.
Incest, they got killed. I mean, there's so many stories in the Old Testament that because they did something wicked, they got killed. Sodom and Gomorrah, all these, it's like they were wicked. They got destroyed. Did
Job do something wicked?
No, he's not saying that. He's being absorbed. He's like, look, this is
what is Eliphaz saying? Eliphaz. What is he saying? You must have sinned.
What I've observed.
Yeah.
The innocent don't suffer.
In other words, if you were innocent, you wouldn't have been suffering. Again, stay tuned for the conflict, okay? That means that you have to be here. But the suffering comes with pizza, okay? Does anybody want to help with pizza next week? Let's suffer together. Can you please bow your heads?